Hey, everybody. Good evening to you. I am just back from the courthouse moments ago, and it has been a memorable day. The jury has just gone home, I would say about 30 minutes ago, after deliberating since around 2:15. Dinner was brought in, and they deliberated some more, and now they have gone home. And they will be back in the morning. And so I walked into this room probably 10 minutes ago. I got this all set up, took off my shoes, and tonight we're going to just go with what happened today. I want to know where you are watching from. So many of you have been kind enough to comment and let me know where you're at. And those of you that thought we'd have a verdict today, you're wrong. You're wrong. Although many people thought it would happen today, it didn't. So, put in the comments below if you want to have a new guess. Yeah, if you want to have a new guess, when you think the verdict's going to come down. Will it be tomorrow? And put the time. Whoever gets the exact minute, I'm going to call out our wonderful moderator, Peggy, to help me with this. When the verdict comes down, within 24 hours, we'll go through all the entries, and whoever gets the exact minute and exact time and date, I'm going to send you something cool. East Idaho News swag, maybe some gift certificates. We'll find some sponsors. We'll do something to take care of you because it's just a fun little game. Not that I think that this is a light, heavy topic, because it is definitely a heavy topic. And I want to go through with what happened today. First of all, Judge Boyce ruled on Idaho Rule 29. This was the rule where the motion that the defense made to have a motion for acquittal, which basically is kind of standard from everything I understand, that if the defense does not think the prosecution put on a case, they can file this motion for acquittal, and that's what they did. And the judge went through each count and said, well, here's where I think they prove, if there's any evidence that the defendant may have been guilty on a few things, then that's what we have to go on. And so that's what he did. And it was denied. So the motion did not happen. Just a reminder, these are the charges that Lori's facing. Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder for Tylee, first-degree murder for Tylee, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder for JJ, first-degree murder for JJ, and we also have the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder for Tammy and grand theft. So the judge read each of those charges in his jury instructions. He read all of the appendages associated with the charges, the allegations in the indictment, and he stressed that if you must find guilt beyond a reasonable doubt on each of those, and that's what they are doing. That's what they're deciding to do. So after that, Rob Wood got up to give his closing arguments. And I want to play some of what he said, and then I want to play some of what Jim Archibald said, and then I want to play some of Rob Wood's rebuttal, and then I want to tell you what I observed in the courtroom from a very unhappy Lori Daybell. There were tears. She was not happy with what happened. As I said, I just got back here, so I haven't pulled out any clips. I'm going to play it. Let's see. I have the time here. The prosecutor spoke for 1 hour and 12 minutes. And then the defense spoke for 59 minutes. And then the rebuttal was 18 minutes. So decent amount of time. And before I play that, I want to read with you. I just remembered. I got an email last night. I'm going to keep the person's name confidential, but this person served on a high-profile jury. She spent 2 months on a high-profile jury. I won't say the name of the case, but out of state, out of Idaho, and it was 2 months. And I'm going to read what she said, and I'm not going to use her name or the name of the trial, because she said, she did say I could use her first name. It's Lisa. And reference a high-profile murder trial, but please not the name, because I need to keep my promise to my jury friends. So it sounds like they made a pact. The fellow jurors made a pact. This is what she said. I've enjoyed your coverage of the Daybell trial. It's brought back many memories of my 2 months spent on this murder trial in 2015. Although every case and every jury is different, I thought I would share my perspective on being part of a high-profile case. 1, we had 18 jurors throughout the trial. Before deliberations, 6 were randomly selected as alternates. We were heartbroken for them. The judge spoke eloquently about how psychologically difficult it is to put so much time and effort into being part of a trial, only to be told you cannot have your voice heard. We witnessed that today. I'll talk about that in a minute. Regardless of our opinion of being chosen for the jury in the beginning, believe me, you want to finish the job. The alternates sat in a separate room while we deliberated, just in case something happened and they needed to replace a juror during deliberations. We too had horrible crime scene photos to view. The photos were passed around to the jury but not displayed to anyone else, very similar to this trial, although they were shown on screens to the jury. The first day of this was horrible. On the second day of graphic images, a peace came over me. My job is to bear this burden and shield the family from it, I thought. It was a bit easier after that, but I can still see the images in my head to this day. We were a diverse jury in age, gender, religion, race, and occupation. We worked incredibly well together, and many of us remain friends 8 years later. We decided as a group not to speak to the press. Our decision was made out of respect to the family. We did our job, and we did not want we did not want this to be about us. We were offered psychological assistance if needed. The judge sat with us privately after the trial and encouraged us to dump out every thought and feeling to our loved ones that we had pent up for 2 months. He said it's an important step toward reintegrating back to civilian life after a difficult trial, and he was right. I talked nonstop to my family for 3 days. I know every person's experience is different, but I hope sharing mine can provide some insights onto the juror's side of things. On another note, it occurred to me today how different this case would have been if Alex had been successful in killing Tammy in the driveway. Investigators would have immediately uncovered the affair, the communication between the husband and mistress's brother, Charles's shooting, and 2 freshly dug graves near the crime scene. No Hawaii wedding, no months of wondering where the children are. Interesting side note. But I thought this email, thank you, Lisa, for sending that. I haven't even responded to you, but I have so many emails. But this is a fascinating perspective from this juror in a very high-profile case with horrible photos. I want to tell you what we witnessed, and then we'll get to the... So the judge gave the jurors some rules. The closing arguments were done, first the prosecution, then the defense, then the response from the prosecution. And then the judge says the clerk is going to randomly pull 6 juror numbers out of a hat. And those jurors are the alternates, and you can go home. But please be on standby in case we need you, in case something happens. We thank you so much for your time. And I think the first number she pulled was at 1. All of you that were in there are going to tell me. I wrote down the numbers. And I want to tell you what I witnessed. And then I want to tell you what some other people, I was sitting directly opposite the jurors on the other side of the room, some other people sitting right by them. I witnessed that when each number was read among the group, among the team of jurors, there was... I don't want to know if sadness is the word, but like a disappointment that their colleague was leaving. There was one guy, I was told by someone who was sitting right there. I think our sketch artist told me this, another Lisa. The man, number 1, he was juror number 1. He said a prayer, like he wanted to be there. He said a prayer. And then they drew his number to go home, and he just went, oh. He was crushed. There was another lady came up and told me that there were 2 women sitting next to each other. And when one of their numbers was called, the woman next to her leaned over and put her hand on this lady's arm. Like, oh, I'm going to miss you. There were other jurors dismissed who may have been relieved, but I look at, maybe this is a weird way to look at it for me, but I look at having spent every day for the past 6 weeks covering this story, and then today you come to me at the very end and you say, goodbye, we don't need you anymore. And I know there's plenty of other reporters that can do the job, but I would be crushed. I would feel so deflated. And maybe some reporters would be like, phew, I don't want to cover this story anymore. But for me, you want to finish, just like this juror said, in all caps, you want to finish the job. And the judge let all the jurors leave the room together. I'm sure there were some tears shed as those 6 said goodbye. And then the 12 came back in. And some of you are probably thinking, what's the big deal? I mean, I guess it's hard to explain, and I've never served on a jury. If you've served on a jury, and it's different for maybe 1 or 2 days, you don't get to know the people, but these people sat through breaks. They sat through every lunch together. They got to know each other. It's a vast group of men and women and all sorts of ages and everything. We went from 10 men and 8 women to 7 men and 5 women. The jurors who went home, 18, 17, 1, 2, 3, and 7. So, that's who went home. Will you ever know the juror's name? I've been asked that so many times today. The list is sealed. We won't know. But what the trial court administrator will do is she will let the jurors know if they want to talk to the media. Here's who's interested in talking to them. And full disclosure, I have submitted an email saying, I'd love to talk to you. If they choose to never talk to me, that is fine with me. I respect that. I'm not going to go chase them down. If they choose to want to talk to me, I'll respect them and talk to them. So we may not know. And as this juror said, they made a pact that none of them would talk. And that could be the case here, or it might be different. All right, so that's kind of what happened with the jury today. Let me get on to the audio clips here, which, by the way, these are uploaded on our YouTube, the prosecutor, the defense, and then the rebuttal, and then the full audio is going up now. I'm going to play a little bit of Rob Wood. We'll just get listening to it. I don't know the particular bite here. This is going to be the opening of what he said, and then I'll play Jim Archibald, and here we go.
All right, at this time we'll have closing arguments. Mr. Wood for the state.
An extreme manner. Tylee was Lori Vallows, 16, free of obstacles. Murders in the state of Idaho. Power and sex. Beginning in October of 2018, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell set in motion a series of events that led to 3 horrific murders in the state of Idaho. Along their way, they quickly recruited and groomed her brother Alex Cox to participate in their multiple conspiracies. Each of these conspiracies as part of a larger plan for Chad and Lori to be together, unencumbered and free of obstacles. This plan was driven by Lori Vallows' desire for and use of money, power, and sex. And this plan that she set in motion must end today in the verdicts you render in this trial. Idaho murder number 1. Tylee Ryan. Tylee was Lori Vallows' 16-year-old vibrant daughter. She had a whole life ahead of her. Tylee was murdered between September 8th and September 9th, 2019. Lori Vallow was responsible for Tylee's health and safety. But instead of protecting her, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox conspired to murder her. Acting together, they caused her death. Tylee's body was burned beyond recognition. Her body was dismembered in such a grotesque and extreme manner that the medical examiner had to determine the cause of death as homicide by unspecified or unknown means. She was burned and buried in Chad Daybell's backyard on September 9th, 2019. What was left of her body, they dumped in a green bucket and buried in a pet cemetery on top of a piece of her skull. Tylee was gone and buried and out of the way, but Lori Vallow kept collecting Tylee's money. Tylee Ryan had been receiving Social Security benefits from the death of her father, and Lori personally took steps to make sure that she kept receiving that money after Tylee was murdered. Lori never reported that Tylee was missing or dead. Not only did she not report it, she lied to multiple people about Tylee's location and whereabouts, including to the police. She had to keep her body hidden so she could keep getting the money. Idaho murder number 2. Between September 22nd and 23rd, 2019, J.J. Vallow's voice was silenced forever by a strip of duct tape placed across his mouth. A white plastic bag was placed over his head, where it was secured tightly with duct tape being wrapped around and around from his forehead to his neck. The evidence shows he struggled, and we'll never know how long he fought before they bound his wrists, his forearms, and his ankles with duct tape. That white bag that was placed over his head, that was duct taped over his head, cut off his airways. So he stopped breathing. His heart stopped beating, and he died. It was a brutal, horrific murder of a 7-year-old boy with special needs. A 7-year-old boy with special needs. JJ's body was placed in a black plastic and buried like a piece of trash in Chad Daybell's backyard, in a shallow but well-prepared and precise grave. Just like Tylee, JJ was the recipient of Social Security benefits from the death of his father, Charles Vallow. Just like Tylee, Lori never reported that JJ was missing or dead. Why? He had to remain hidden so she could keep receiving the money. Not only did she not report, she lied to multiple people about his location. She even asked a friend, Melanie Gibb, to lie to the police about JJ's location, and further asked her to falsify evidence of his location. Just like Tylee, after JJ was murdered, she kept collecting the money. Idaho murder number 3. Between the night of October 19th and the morning of October 20th, or between the night of October 18th and October 20th, 2019, Tammy Daybell, a loving, active, healthy 49-year-old mother of 5, and a school librarian, was murdered in her own home. She was asphyxiated in her own home. The evidence is clear that Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox conspired to murder Tammy. Acting together, they caused her death. Her death occurred just a little over a week after a masked gunman had attempted to shoot her. She entered her home after a night of church activities. When their first plan didn't work, they formed a second plan, and she was asphyxiated. Lori was conveniently gone for both the attempted murder and the successful murder. She was conveniently out of the state. Those trips were not coincidences. And just like Tylee and JJ, there was money to be gained from Tammy's death. $430,000 worth of life insurance. And Lori wasted no time in making sure she could benefit from that money. A mere 2.5 weeks after Tammy Daybell died on November 5th, 2019, Lori Vallow married Chad Daybell on a beach in Hawaii. So less than 2 months after Tylee and JJ are murdered, and within weeks of Tammy's murder, Lori and Chad are on a beach, in the words of her sister, dancing on a beach in Hawaii. Free from the obstacles that were Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, but living with the money that was gained from each of their deaths. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to quickly talk to you about the timeline of this case.
We'll stop it there. That was the beginning, the first 8 minutes, and then Rob Wood went into the timeline of events, and then he went into the autopsy photos, including a brutal image of JJ on a morgue table wrapped in tape, and Tylee's, what's left of Tylee, with the remainder in a bucket, and Tammy's autopsy photo. In fact, after Archibald somewhat apologized that they had to see those photos, said those are horrible photos. They'll never get out of your mind. So Rob Wood played that. That whole thing's on YouTube. If you want to go listen, it was powerful. It was a powerful closing argument, and the jury was fixed. They were fixed on him, and then we took a break. Then we came back, and it was Jim Archibald's turn. Archibald began by thanking the jurors for their time. He said, this is not an easy job. And you've had to listen to a lot. You've had to give up your time and hear a lot. And it's stressful. A lot of people are like, why did the judge end every day at 3:30? Mentally, I was ready to get out of there at 3:30 every day. And people, I know on Twitter I've seen, he takes an hour lunch and he takes a morning break and an afternoon break. Sometimes there's just like so much you can take. Maybe I say that because I'm typing the whole day, but to just sit there and listen. Have you ever just sat somewhere and had to listen for 6 hours a day and not say a word about what you're hearing to anyone? And then do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Granted, there were breaks, but, I mean, luckily I get to come out and talk with you all about it. I guess this is my nightly therapy after the trial. Okay, so let me play a little bit of Archibald. I'm just going to pick a random spot here. His main premise was, and this will lead to why Lori was not happy, was Lori, before 2018, was a good mom, was faithful and believed in God and Jesus, and never talked about portals and multiple probations and all that stuff. But when she met Chad and, quote, his stupid books, Archibald said that, his stupid books, things changed. And he pointed the finger at Chad. He's like, it's him. It's not her. It's him. I'm just going to pick it up here, and we'll listen to a little bit of what Archibald had to say.
The first witness here in this trial was Kay Woodcock, Charles' sister. She described Charles and Lori as the all-American family. They were great parents. She trusted her brother, Charles. She trusted Lori. They were good parents. They each had 2 kids. Then they adopted one together, and it was just perfect. And she told you, as every other witness, something changed in late 2018 or early 2019. Brandon Bedreau, he testified, gosh, Charles and Lori were great. My kids played with their kids. I loved that family like my own. But then all of the end of the world talks ramped up and things got weird. So Charles died, I got divorced, I got shot at, and so things just got really weird really quick. Officer Hermosillo, what a tough job he has when he had to describe the stench, the smell of decaying bodies during a search of Chad Daybell's property. That was pretty brutal. And what did he tell you? He said Chad Daybell, when the cops showed up, called his lawyer to make sure that the cops could be there. And what's Chad doing? He's outside looking over his shoulder. And then he sped away and got arrested. So when Chad was looking over his shoulder, what's that inference? That Chad knew what was in his backyard. He knew that time was short for him. So then Captain Wilmore, captain at the jail, he recorded a phone call Lori made from the jail to Chad when he was at his property. And when I listen to this call, it's apparent to me that Lori does not know what's in Chad's backyard. But I'm Lori's lawyer, so don't trust me. Listen to it again. So that's the way I hear it. Lori does not know what's in Chad's backyard. She knows her kids are missing. She knows that her kids aren't with her. She knows that they're safe and happy, whatever that means. If that means people are dead, if people are safe and happy if they're in heaven. But does she know that Chad and Alex stuffed her kids in Chad's backyard? So listen to it again, and you make your determination. So then we have other witnesses about, and I know weirdness isn't a legal term, but that's the only way I can describe this, all this religious babble. All about you've been married in previous lives, multiple probations, multiple lives, special missions on earth, light and dark scales, contracts with Jesus or contracts with Satan. Just a lot of stuff that really does not make sense. So you have to sort through that to see, again, in America you can believe how you want, but you can't go killing people. And so what are they talking about? What is all this religious talk? Then Melanie Gibb records Lori. You'll have a chance to listen to that. That's where Lori says, with Chad sitting right there, the kids are safe and happy. And so, does she know her kids are dead? Well, she knows they're not with her. Does she know that Chad and Alex were out in the backyard together? Remember all the GPS data? Lori's not there. Lori's not in the backyard when Chad and Alex are. She's not coming and going to Chad's property on those days that the state points out. She's not there. They're calling her. They're texting her. Are they texting about, hey, today's the day we're going to kill some people. Is that okay with you? We don't know that. Or are they saying, yeah, I'm just running an errand. I'll be back. Do you want a real Coke or a Diet Coke? We don't know the content of those text messages. Unfortunately, we have lots of content of text messages about the James and Elena story. We have lots of that crap. But we don't have any texts about today is the day we kill people. So look for that. Look for the lack of evidence about who's doing what. Part of your job. That's part of your job to figure it out. And if lack of evidence is something that the state hasn't shown, you can't hold that against me. You can't hold that against my client. You hold the lack of evidence against the state because they have the burden of proof.
Okay. That's all I'll play from the defense there. I wanted to give them equal time. They clearly deserve it because we have two sides here. And I didn't play the part where he called Chad's books stupid. You heard the part where he said weird beliefs because he doesn't know what else to call them. But he really kind of made the point, kind of throughout there, that these were all Chad's beliefs, and Lori was following. That she was not the leader, he was the leader. And then he brought up the storm. Now, if you know what the storm is. If you don't, go look it up. He said Chad was being led by the storm. And he's not the only... No, he said the storm was leading Chad. And he's not the only man who's been led by the storm. And Chad would do anything for the storm. And Jim Archibald made the point that if you have any doubt, reasonable doubt, you must not convict my client. He spoke for, again, 58 minutes. You can go listen to the whole thing. Let me know what you think. Defense, prosecution, who do you think won? We then went to lunch for about 45 minutes. Now, the attorneys don't have lunch with Lori. She goes and has her own lunch. The attorneys go have their own thing. We came back in, and Lori was upset. Lori had her back to the crowd. She was dabbing her eyes with tears. She was crying. John Thomas was comforting her, had his arm kind of around her on the chair, was next to her, talking. Jim Archibald came up, and I later learned that Lori was furious that Jim called her Chad's books stupid, and that he threw Chad under the bus. That is her husband. You don't do that, according to her. Honestly, as an observer, they could have thrown Chad under the bus this entire trial. Point everything to him, but she did not let them. Same with Alex. They could have really gone after Alex and Chad. They did not. And so in closing arguments, he had to do it. I mean, it would have been malpractice if he didn't. It's his job. And he probably knew he would have the last word today because it's closing arguments, and this was the time. He had to do it. He had to do it, and she did not like that at all. And After that, it was time for the prosecutors to give a rebuttal. And again, this was Rob Wood. It was effective in the beginning when Lindsay Blake did opening statements because she started with money, power, sex. That's what this is about. And Rob Wood brought it full circle with money, power, sex. And when he got up for the rebuttal, he showed on the screen Lori's lies. And there was at least, I think, 11 circles of different lies she told. And then he put up photos of Tammy and JJ and Tylee and pointed up to them. I want to play some of the rebuttal. He did go after some of what Jim said about Chad being the leader. He says Lori's the leader. He pointed to text messages where Chad said, "Grab me by the storm and I'll go wherever you take me," or something, into eternity, into the universes, whatever he said. Where he would check in with her of, "Will you please check for confirmation on what is what?" So he brought back some of those texts to counter what Jim said. And then I'm going to play the last few minutes of the rebuttal here. Take a listen.
3%, she's upset that it's not 0 yet. Again, please check JJ. Is he at 0 yet? The defense says there's no text about killing the kids. Do you think there is a perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children, and I should be doing something to help? Remember the text about Nathan Pachenko, who you heard was a singer? And she asked Chad what he thinks. He gives her a dark rating. He gives him a dark rating. Lori gives him a light rating. What does Chad do? Okay, we'll go with you. He will follow her till the end of the universe. Let's talk briefly, just briefly, one more time about what you need to find. The question you need to ask. Lori agree with Chad and Alex to commit the crime of first-degree murder against Tylee? Yes, she did. There's no question. And did she and grand theft? Yes, the math is there. Did she intend for these children to die? Yes. What mother, if she didn't intend for her children to die, doesn't go report that she's missing or dead? It makes no sense to say that she's a good mom when she's not reporting the death of her children or that her children are missing. She intended the death. We've gone through the overt acts. We've met them in spades. You have the evidence. You must convict her. In regards to the murder of Tylee Ryan, you have to ask, did Lori Vallow engage in conduct, or did aid, abet, advise, or counsel another to engage in conduct which caused the death of Tylee Ryan? Yes. It is clear. The same applies to JJ. The same applies to Tammy. As the defense spoke, it reminded me of some of Zulema Pastena's testimony. When Lori would tell her friends that nothing she did in this life counted for her. She could do whatever she wanted. Nothing in this life counted for her. And she made a little motion she did. She'd go, "Doesn't count for me." Make it count for her. Make it count for Lori Vallow that Tylee Ryan was burnt, mutilated, buried in a bucket next to a dog and cat. That Tylee Ryan will never get to go to college, will never get to fully grow up. Make it count for Lori Vallow that JJ, a boy with special needs, had a plastic bag placed over his head and had to fight for his life. Make that count for her. And make it count for Lori that Tammy Daybell had to die so that Lori could get to that money, so that Lori could get to Chad Daybell. And make it count for her that she stole. Again, reason and common sense. Reason and common sense. Lori's behavior shows you that she is a killer. Lori's behavior is not the behavior of a mom concerned for the safety and welfare of her children. Justice for these victims requires a conviction. The state has met its burden. Ladies and gentlemen, reason and common sense. Reason and common sense. You must convict her. Thank you.
So there you go. That was the rebuttal. And with that, the clerk read the 6 alternate jurors who were dismissed, and then the jury went into the deliberation room. They went in at 2:15. I think I wrote 2:13. We'll say around 2:15. Dinner was ordered around 5, pizza. And then around 7, they went home. They had a 15-minute, 20-minute dinner break. It was short. And so tomorrow, we begin again. 9 a.m., the jury's back. And I'll be there, and we will bring you whatever happens. And we might have a verdict tomorrow. We might not. I've heard that if a defense attorney has a jury out for more than 2 hours, they've done their job. I'm not saying that in this necessarily in this case, but I'm saying it. They at least wasn't a slam dunk, is what I should say. I mean, any verdict can still come back, but if you're back there for a short amount of time, then that's what it is. So, I think we're going to get to some questions. I feel bad though because I do have a photo. I did not have time today to pull a photo or some stories about JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. But there is one I meant to share yesterday and I didn't. So I'm going to share that with you tonight. And I didn't even show you the court sketches today. I'll show you that here in just a second, and then I'll get to your questions. This is Tylee. Look at that little adorable girl. And I'm going to read you the story I got with this. This is her with her cousin, I believe. It says, when Tylee was 5, she had pancreatitis. It looks like she's in the hospital there. She was so worried about going back to school after missing over a week. To cheer her up, I asked her to tell me about one of her friends in her class. Her teacher had sent her a package that contained cards that the children had made for her. We looked through the cards and found that one of her friends had made her. It said, one of my friends had made her. It said, I hop you Phil Deader. She thought it was hilarious. We laughed so hard and she lost a lot of her anxiety about going back to school. She was always a student. Dearder. I hope you feel dearder. Anyway, that is Tylee with her cousin. And it's those little funny, simple moments that people remember about their loved ones. And that's Tylee right there. Tylee and JJ, we remember them, and we remember Tammy and Charles too. As I said, tomorrow we'll have the jury verdicts. No, we won't have the jury verdict. We'll have jury deliberations. If we have a verdict tomorrow, I'll be back here at 7:30 to break it all down. So we'll be back. If the jury's still deliberating at 7:30, I won't be back. Or even at 7, I'll be there. But we're going to be live whenever the news breaks. If you're tuning in, and so many people have messaged saying, how do I know when the verdict's here? We will get an hour heads up once the the verdict has been reached. So verdict comes in at 2. We get a heads up. We know it will be read at 3. Right at 2, we're going to send out an alert on our East Idaho News app and on our YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to post it. I'm going to tweet it. And then you can go right then to wherever you're watching. You can go right then and hit play, and we'll have the screen up. In case the verdict comes earlier, we'll cut in right away. It'll just say like stand by for the verdict, and then you can wait. And then when it happens, boom, we'll have it. It's going to be, I don't predict that it will be long, but you'll be able to see it from the court cameras. Right after that, we'll switch to another camera outside of the courthouse. I'm going to run down and I'm going to bring you live coverage as people are leaving, see if they have any comments, talk with Larry and Kay, hopefully, talk with other family members who were there, get their reaction to it. So we'll get you coverage. You won't miss the verdict. And if you miss it, if you're working or whatever, we'll keep the video up forever. So many of you have been messaging me saying, how long am I going to keep these videos on YouTube or Facebook? Forever. We're not going to delete our videos. So if you missed the courtroom audio from any day, you can go back to any day and re-listen to it. Same with Courtroom Insider. We don't remove our videos from our YouTube page. So we just keep it there, and we don't charge you to listen to it. It's free. So it's just a service that we provide as a news agency. I want to get to your questions. Before, I have to say one more thing. I am truly thankful for all of you all who have sent me so many nice messages and done so many nice things for me and my family while I've been away for 6-7 weeks. Again, there are these prosecutors and these defense attorneys and their staffs have been working so much harder than me. One of them told me they haven't even left Boise. They haven't been in Boise. They haven't been in Idaho Falls or Rexburg since March. And I'm lucky to go home most weekends, but you all have been so kind to me. I'm just a reporter. My dream has always been to bring people the news and give you the information. That's all I want to do. And I hope that I help. And I don't want to lie. I want to tell the truth. I want to give it to you straight. And a beautiful, kind woman brought me this rock today. Here, I'll try to get it closer to the lens. I don't know if you can see it, but it's shoot. Maybe it's out of focus. It's a bike with a lamp, and she said, "Thank you for being a light." She painted this. And it's little things like this that mean a lot. People have brought me cookies. I have a thing of cookies over here and Smarties. And you stop by to say hi at the courthouse and ask for a selfie. It truly does mean a lot to me to be connected to the community. I've had plenty of job offers to go elsewhere, to bigger cities, to do different things. And I like what I'm doing. I like being able to have the connection with you and not have a filter and bring you the news as I see it. So thank you. Sorry, very personal there, but I just had to tell you how much I appreciate you all. And for those of you who are new following this case, welcome. Thank you. And so many of you are saying, what's going to happen after Courtroom Insider? Well, we still have a few more shows. We at least have one more with the verdict. And then I want to do a follow-up or two about kind of my takeaways from the trial. I want to do one about what didn't make it in this trial that I thought would. Because there's a lot, even when I'm chatting with people, that like, oh yeah, why didn't they play that? Or why didn't they show that? I want to do a show about that, and then I want to figure out what we're going to do next, because I think there's more to say. There are some other big cases coming up in Idaho, if you haven't heard. But I'll take a little bit of a break, too, when we're done. All right, there we go. Let me get to your questions. Here we go. Let me rewind here. Oh, my gosh, there's so many questions. Will the victim impact statement be streamed live? Sheila. Okay, so Sheila is talking about after the verdict comes down, the judge will set a sentencing date for Lori. It'll probably be 2 to 3 months out. I realize many of you have messaged me saying, are you sure that's right? With the Letitia Stosh case that just ended, I think in Ohio or something, they sentenced her right away. Different states do different things. In Idaho, on a felony, especially on a serious felony, you have a pre-sentence investigation, which is ordered. And they try to interview you, the defendant and whatever, and then you're sentenced 2 to 3 months later. So Lori, assuming we have a verdict tomorrow or in the next 2 or 3 days, will likely be sentenced in July or August, maybe even September. At that point, victims will read statements or speak or get to address the court, and we don't know if that will be streamed live. We're going to put in a request to carry that live, and hopefully it will, but I don't know if that'll happen. If not, we'll get the audio and you can listen. Sharon, do the victim impact statements have any bearing on the judge's sentence? Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure the judge reads them and hears them. Often the judges, I think, go into the sentencing hearing with their mind kind of made up, but they also listen to what the defense says and they listen to what the prosecutors say, their recommendations. So they get to have a say, but ultimately the judge has the final thing. If Lori serves her time in Idaho, will she get to work at the Idaho State Fair in Blackfoot? That's a good question, Becky. For those of you wondering what that is, there's the Eastern Idaho State Fair every September. The inmates come and do trash cleanup and removal. But I believe those are all very low risk offenders. And they might even be from the county jail. Maybe they're from the prison. But they're very low risk. I don't see Lori ever, if she's found guilty, I don't see her ever leaving that facility. Unless she has to go to the doctor or the hospital. I think she'll be there a long, long time. She won't be picking up trash at the fair. Could you imagine if you go to the state fair and you go get a corn dog and there's Lori emptying the trash cans? Honestly, it would be probably for her safety too, because a lot of people don't like her. Can Lori and Chad write to each other once they're both sent to prison? Maybe they can. I don't think inmates are allowed to communicate. I know before the sentence, but maybe they're not even allowed to after, because you could plan another crime or something. But I don't know. And I don't know if her fascination with Chad will ever go away. But maybe she can, or maybe she can have, letters sent somewhere and then they send them into him. I think that they could probably arrange a way to communicate, and it won't be as, if they're both, let's say they're both found guilty and both sentenced to life in prison, I guess they can write back and forth forever. And I don't know if that'll harm anything. But good question. If I was an alternate juror, I would go to Starbucks with the other alternate jurors and come up with our own verdict. Can they discuss things after they've been dismissed? Good question. Yes, they can't. Well, I'm sorry. No, they cannot. They cannot discuss anything. They are still under the same obligations as the jurors are until a verdict is read. Once the verdict is read, all bets are off. They can do whatever they want. But for now, they can't. So even imagine going home today and you're like, honey, I'm an alternate, but I can't say anything to you about it until it's over. So they're anxiously waiting, and they're not supposed. They can't call the current jurors to be like, "Are you close?" None of that. And I just have to say, I express my appreciation to those jurors who sat through that, and any juror in any case. Ironically, it's Juror Appreciation Week in Idaho, and the verdict, if it comes down tomorrow, will be on the last day of Juror Appreciation Week. But I look into those people's eyes every day, and they're just such good people, serving their community, not getting paid, giving up their vacation time and family time to be there to hear that horrific stuff, and then they'll determine what should happen. It's just quite an amazing system. If Lori gets acquitted, will the others who were dark get restraining orders or protection of any kind? Jody asks. Well, if you feel like your life is in danger, you can go and get a protection order or some sort of do not contact or something. So it would probably be up to them. Shelby, will this judge travel to Fremont County, or will a new judge be appointed for the sentencing phase? So Shelby, Judge Boyce is actually the district judge in Fremont County. He lives in Rexburg. He presides over the felony cases in Rexburg and St. Anthony. So this is his case. He brought the case with him here. And yes, when this is over, he'll go back home. He'll preside over other cases. There's another murder case scheduled for August in Rexburg. A young man, 18, who showed up in the middle of the night and killed a man and stabbed his wife multiple times. He shot the husband on the front lawn. And then the young man ran, and a camper picked him up. He asked for a ride. He was covered in blood. He got a ride home to his house in Rigby. And then he was arrested the next day or 2 or 3 days later. So he's facing a murder charge. And guess who the prosecutor is? Rob Wood. And guess who the defender is? Jim Archibald. So we could be back here in August talking about the Pierre Lake murder case with Judge Boyce, Jim Archibald, and Rob Wood. That's going to be an interesting trial. Maybe not as interesting as this one, but who knows? Maybe we'll do Courtroom Insider there. I want you to talk to the neighbor of Chad Daybell. Did she see anything unusual? Paula, I'm not sure what you mean. There was one neighbor who saw a bonfire, but I don't know about anything else, what you mean with that. Glenn, do each of those charges have their own sentencing, and can they run concurrently? Yes, she will be sentenced on each charge, so she could get a life in prison, a life in prison, a life in prison, a life in prison. She could get 25, 25, 25. The judge could sentence them consecutively so they run back to back, or concurrently so they all run together. All of that is an option. Tracy, will you cover JJ and Tylee's memorial services? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll cover them wherever they are. Colleen, will Lori go right? And we'll stream them live, by the way, if the family's okay with it. Having a live stream, we'll stream it live so you all can watch. Will Lori go right to general population in prison? You know, I'm not sure how that will work. If they'll put her in a secure cell there at the Pocatello facility, I'm not really sure. Will Chad have the same judge? Yes, Chad does have the same judge, and the judge will preside over the same trial next June. Apparently. He hasn't set the date. That's when they want it. Last night, I believe you mentioned that you knew each of the attorneys and feel they are nice. How do such horrific trials such as this one affect their relationship once it's all over? I assume it takes a toll on all. Yeah, Piper, it does, but let me give you a true scenario. Just this afternoon when it was all over, I was in the hallway having an off-the-record chat with one of the main attorneys on this case. And as we were chatting about some stuff, out of the door walked a main attorney for the other side. And we just sat there chatting. They were joking with each other. I was chatting with them. One of them said, you know, I thought about bringing this recording in, and the other one kind of laughed, and we talked, and then a few detectives came over and chatted, and it was very much like old friends chatting. And I'll tell you what, that's one thing I like about these groups, about Idaho. It's probably not all over Idaho. It might be more small town. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow I went out to Chipotle or somewhere once the verdict's done, and I saw the defense team and the prosecutors having dinner. They might, I don't know if they watch this, but they might be like, Nate, you're crazy. We don't like each other that much. But they're friendly, they're professional. Whereas I've covered other trials in other states where, they don't talk to each other. So I think they might take a breather, but these guys work with each other all the time. In fact, Jim Archibald began his closing arguments by saying that today. We're small town Idaho attorneys. We work with each other all the time. We're not from Boise, the big city of Boise. Do you think Chad will plead guilty after hearing all the evidence on Lori? Also, how come everyone stands up when the jury walks in? Does the judge go out or in before the jury comes in? I don't know about Chad. I'm sure he has a big decision to make. As for the judge, when the judge walks in, we all stand. And then out of respect for the jurors who will decide when the jurors walk in, we all stand, including the judge. If the jurors leave, we all stand. When the judge leaves, we all stand. So it's to show respect for both and that they're equal in this. Will you be interviewing dismissed jurors? Joy asked about that. I talked about that. The dismissed jurors, I'm not going near any juror until we have a verdict. And then once that happens, I've made a request through the court that any of them who want to talk can contact me. Once this is in the hands of the jury, are they sequestered? No, they're not. So all the jurors are home right now, or somewhere. They're home right now. I wonder if they'll sleep. Is parole an option? It is. It is an option. I was on a jury and learned that the phrase "without a doubt" doesn't mean that there can't be a small doubt. Have you heard this? Doesn't always mean that there can't be a small doubt. Have you heard this? I think if you went back, Edith, and listened to the judge's instruction, let's see. Without a doubt doesn't always mean that it can't be a small doubt. Have you heard this? Go back and listen to what the judge's instruction said. That would be the best thing that I can answer you on. That would probably explain it the best. Sorry, I have texts flying in like crazy. I thought the jurors would be sequestered and even work through the night. Tell us what they're doing and how this works. No, they're not sequestered. The judge could have sequestered them, but they're home. And okay. Assuming we get a verdict back, this is from Nick, you'll likely be heading home to your family. What are you looking forward to the most? Oh, that's a good point, Nick. And out of the past 6 weeks, what will you miss the very most? It's really hard to explain. I was talking with some other reporters about this. This has been such an intense, focused grind. I'm up every morning at 5:45. I'm trying to work out. I'm right over to the courthouse by 7:30. I'm there till 3:30, 4 o'clock. I come back here. I prepare this. I go live with you at 7:30. When I'm done, I get all the audio ready. I upload it. I get ready for the next day. I try to get in bed by 10:30, and then the same thing every day. So it is a grind. But I feel it's really important work. And I'll miss seeing the court staff. I'll miss seeing the bailiffs. I'll miss seeing the other reporters. I'll miss seeing Larry and Kay. I forgot to tell you, when Larry walked in this morning, there was a big bowl of Lifesavers in the courtroom. I think it was kind of a joke because do you remember early on the bailiff said, if you like Lifesavers, open your wrappers now if you have a Lifesaver fetish. I tweeted that. It went crazy viral. And anyway, so Larry was passing around the bowl of Lifesavers. I'll miss you all. So there's a lot that I'll miss, but I miss my family. I miss this kind of this, I don't want to say slower pace. It's just different. It's just like a phase of life. So I will always look back on this time as a really special time in my career that has taught me a lot. And yeah, there's a lot to think about. And I'll probably have to think about that some more. But I will enjoy kind of having my nights back and not always working. But thank you for asking that question, Nick. I think there's one more. Did the jury see Lori react after the defense's closing, or did she react after the jury left? The jurors were not in the room when she was upset. It was, unless they were watching her during the closings, they hadn't been brought in yet when she was crying and upset. And by the time they brought them in for the rebuttal, she was fine. So that's a good question. I want to play this for you before we go. Larry Woodcock walked into the courtroom today with an iPad playing JJ's favorite song, "We Will Rock You." And I'm going to play it, but it's going to flag me for copyright. I get all sorts of alerts once the song starts to play. So I might need to mute it a little bit because it'll create a nightmare for those of you that are watching after the fact. It won't play. But let me show you Larry and Kay walking in today and what they did.
Morning. Interesting song you chose for this morning?
It's JJ's song.
This is JJ's song?
That was his song.
Larry was up here feeling better.
All right, let's let him get in here for this moment first, AJ.
Keep coming. Larry, how you feeling today?
I'm muting because of the copyright. Larry's saying we will rock you. You can see it. By the way, you can go on and watch this after the fact. We posted it, the whole video, but I just can't play it for you here.
That song was JJ's song. He played it, he sang it, he loved it. And I can't think of a better day to play that song in memory of JJ. And I am ready for this. The gloves are off. It's time to get this show on. JJ would sit outside of our house under the oak trees. He'd set up his pots, his pans, and his 5-gallon bucket. He would set all of his little buddies in chairs. And that was his song. He would sing it and play it. And he played it, and he played it, and he played it. I can't think of a better song to come in here today with his memory than that song. So I am ready for this. We are all ready for it. I think that it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great day. I really do. And hopefully we have a fair, righteous verdict. This is swift. And Lori gets loaded in a van and taken to Pocatello, where she belongs for the rest of her life. And then it's on to Chad. The next trial, I hope it's quick. And by quick, I mean it doesn't take a year to go to court to prove the guilt of Chad. When all the evidence has been presented, everybody has heard it. It's time to go to the next one. And then once that one is completed, it is time to go to Arizona. And let's get on Charles's case. And let's close this. It's time to go to the next one. And then once that one is completed, it is time to go to Arizona. And let's get on Charles's case. And let's close this out. I hope it all happens in the next year. We've been here every day, as y'all know, for this. We will be in Chad's trial every day here in Boise. And then I hope he's found guilty quick and he's sent wherever he needs to go. And then we go to Chandler, Arizona, and we go to court there, and that's done. Fair, honest, righteous. And Lori is found guilty again for the murder of Charles. Chad is found guilty of the murder of 4 people. And Lori is found guilty of 3 people. Good day. Good day.
Thank you, Larry. Good to see you.
All right, and there goes Larry into the courtroom. I had a good chat with Larry today while we were waiting for the jury. He says he hasn't cut his hair in about a year because JJ liked to have long hair. And he said that he told his wife, Kay, I think it's time to cut my hair. It's kind of like this is getting some closure in a way. And he's doing much better. He said to thank you all for your thoughts, for what you're doing. He's feeling fine, and he had his iPad there in the courtroom watching some cat videos or animal videos or something. Larry and Kay, if you're watching, say hi to you. Want to wish you the best. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to get ready for bed because I'm going to be at the courthouse incredibly early tomorrow to be sure that I get a seat in the courtroom for in case we have a verdict. I'll try to bring you updates throughout the day, and I wish you a very good night. Thank you again for watching. Leave us your guess, the time and the date you think the verdict's going to come down, and we'll see you tomorrow, maybe 7:30, maybe. I've extended my hotel reservation. I'll be here, perhaps, unless we're at the courthouse. Either way, I hope you'll be here, and I hope you have a great Friday. See you later.